This is Brother Peter Diamond, vaticancatholic.com. One of the most interesting episodes in history concerns the discovery of the New World and the conquest of the Inca Empire. Situated in Peru and the surrounding area, the Inca Empire was the largest native empire in the New World. It was larger than the Aztec Empire. It ruled over 10 million people in the region of the Andes Mountains. It included large parts of modern Ecuador, Bolivia, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, and Peru. Steeped in paganism, the Incas believed their emperors to be gods, and the sun was the main object of their worship. The Incas actually believed their emperor to be the incarnation of the sun god. In one of the most fascinating true stories of history, in the 16th century, Spanish conquistadors made their way into the region of the Incas. Beginning with the almost unbelievable number of only 168 men, the Catholic Spaniards were somehow able to overtake and subjugate an empire of 10 million inhabitants and hundreds of thousands of native warriors. The story is multifaceted. It involves many battles, hardships, internal struggles, twists, and turns. It is not the purpose of this video to cover the entire story. However, I want to focus on the final Inca emperor, named Tupac Amaru. In 1572, the Spaniards had control of most of the Inca Empire, having fought off the native armies, having defied incredible odds, and having killed or used as puppets a number of the Inca's emperors. As a result of the Spaniards' success, a remnant of the empire fled with their emperor to the forests of the Amazon. Deep in the wilderness, they constructed a remote Inca headquarters, from which they continued to launch guerrilla attacks. The Spaniards were intent on putting an end to this resistance, for despite the control they maintained and the reinforcements they now had in Peru, the guerrilla resistance prevented a fully stable occupation of the area. Moreover, as long as an Inca emperor was on the loose and maintained a hostile posture toward the Spaniards, there was the potential that he could rally the much larger Inca population to full-scale rebellion. The Spaniards had already put down one all-out rebellion, only by overcoming incredible odds and suffering great losses. Another full-scale uprising was something the Spaniards wanted to avoid at all costs. They were thus committed to capturing and/or eliminating the hostile Inca emperor and the threat he posed. The problem was that the Inca emperor had moved his kingdom to the remote regions of the upper Amazon. Previous attempts by the Spaniards to enter this area and seize the emperor had failed. Despite the forbidding terrain of the Amazon jungle, a new force of Spaniards was now determined to hunt down and capture the Inca emperor once and for all, and extinguish the remaining resistance. Quote, floating on rafts and led by their native guides, the Spaniards drifted downstream through the primeval wilderness of the upper Amazon. Immense trees in various shades of emerald and green, with enormous trunks, rose alongside the riverbanks beside them. As the Spaniards floated downriver, they periodically captured frightened natives on rafts or in canoes, and forced their captives to give them information as to the whereabouts of the fleeing Inca emperor. Quickening their pace, the Spaniards now began to chase their quarry by both day and night, lighting their way late at night with torches. As the orange flames illuminated the strange, eerie black jungle, the Spaniards sometimes froze momentarily, as unseen beasts suddenly crashed noisily away. Finally, after a chase that had lasted for more than 200 miles, the Spaniards glimpsed a small fire flickering ahead through the jungle. Moving cautiously with drawn swords, Garcia de Loyola and his men emerged into a small clearing, where they found Tupac Amaru, the Inca emperor, and his pregnant wife huddled beside a campfire. The two royal fugitives no doubt must have looked up bleakly as the bearded men emerged from the darkness, the fire causing the steel of their swords and breastplates to glisten. There in the middle of the night, deep in the Amazon rainforest, the 35-year-long Spanish campaign to destroy the rebel province of Vilcabamba and to seize its last remaining Inca emperor had finally come to an end. End quote. Kim Macquarie, The Last Days of the Incas, pages 371 to 373. The victorious Spaniards led the captive emperor back to Cuzco, the Inca capital now controlled by the Spaniards. Once they arrived, the Spaniards had every intention of convicting the emperor for rebellion and then executing him. He would not be allowed to live, for as long as he did, the possibility of full-scale rebellion threatened Spanish rule in Peru. The emperor's capture therefore meant that his days were numbered, and they would be few. For this reason there was a concerted effort to look after the eternal salvation of the Inca leader. As they led him bound back to Cuzco, priests communicated with him and urged him to convert to Christianity. The emperor, who had overseen the pagan cult of the Incas, and even been considered divine by his subjects, decided to convert. He was instructed in Christianity and baptized, and then on September 24, 1572, Tupac Amaru, the final Inca emperor, the last vestige of that formidable yet little-known world tucked away in the forests and mountains, was led to the main square of Cuzco. It was probably not an accident, but rather an arrangement of divine providence, that the final Inca emperor, whose elimination represented the extinction of the old regime, and whose conversion to Christianity represented the transfer to the new, would end his days in the main square of the Inca capital. It was in this very square 37 years earlier that Francisco Pizarro, the leader of the Spanish conquistadors in Peru, had established himself upon first arriving in the Inca capital. At that time the Spaniards were cautious explorers in a new world. They treaded quite carefully into the unknown territory of the heavily populated Inca region, but now a full-scale transformation was almost complete. A chronicler of those events wrote that as they led the emperor into the main square for his execution, quote, "So many natives attended the death of their king and lord, that those who were present say it was only possible to push through the streets and squares with the greatest of difficulty, and since there was no room left to stand, the Indians climbed the walls and roofs of the houses. Even the many large hills that can be seen from the city were packed with Indians. The open spaces, roofs, and windows were so crowded with spectators that if an orange had been thrown down it could not have reached the ground anywhere, so densely were the people packed." End quote. As they led Tupac Amaru to his death, his family members wept. Other accounts tell us that, quote, "the balconies were packed with people, with Spanish women and important ladies who, moved by compassion, wept for him, witnessing an unfortunate young man being led away to be killed. As the multitude who completely filled up the square saw that sad and deplorable spectacle, and knowing that their lord and Inca was about to die there, they deafened the skies and made them resound with their cries and uproar. Tupac Amaru's relatives, who were near him, celebrated that sad tragedy with tears and sobbing. He alone remained calm, and all the noise was followed by a silence so profound that no living soul moved, either among those who were in the square or among those at a distance." End quote. At that point Tupac Amaru, the last heir to the Inca throne, spoke to the crowd. Quote, "Lords, you are gathered here from all the 4 Suyus. Let it be known that I am a Christian, and they have baptized me, and I wish to die under the law of God, and I have to die, and that everything that my ancestors, the Incas, and I have told you up till now, that you should worship the sun god, and the shrines, idols, stones, rivers, mountains, and sacred things, is a lie and completely false. When we used to tell you that we were entering a temple to speak to the sun, and that it told you to do what we said and that it spoke, this was a lie, because it did not speak, rather we did. For it is an object of gold and cannot speak. And my brother, Titu Cusi, told me that whenever I wished to tell the Indians to do something, that I should enter alone into the sun temple, and that no one was to enter with me, and that afterwards I should come out and tell the Indians that it had spoken to me, and that it had said whatever I wanted to tell them, because the Indians perform better what they have been commanded to do, and they better obey what they venerate, and the god they most venerated was the sun god. Tupac Amaru asked the crowd to forgive him for having deceived them until now, and all of this he said with great royal authority and majesty, neither contrived nor artificial, but very natural, despite his being a prisoner. The Inca then received consolation from the fathers who were at his side, and taking leave of all, he put his head on the block like a lamb. The executioner then came forward, and, taking the hair in his left hand, he severed the head with a knife at one blow, and held it on high for all to see. As the head was severed, the bells of the cathedral began to ring, and they were followed by those of all the monasteries and parish churches in the city." End quote. The words of the former Inca leader, regarded by his subjects as divine, must have been as commanding as they were dramatic. He told them that their religion was a lie, and that he had embraced the God of the Christians. It was a final signal to the pagans of Peru that the Inca world had been displaced, and that the true religion of heaven had arrived, and it was delivered in the Inca capital, in the very spot where the natives had first observed the camp of the strange foreigners. Tupac Amaru was telling his followers that just as he did, they should embrace the truth. The Catholic authorities in the area, who were presumably well informed concerning the emperor's final moments, clearly believed his conversion to be sincere and permanent, for on the very next day Tupac Amaru was given a Catholic funeral and a mass was said for his soul. See, for example, John Hemming, The Conquest of the Incas, page 449. Assuming that it was sincere, the conversion of Tupac Amaru, the leader of the Incas and the object of their worship, reminds us that the God of creation is the God of history. As the First Vatican Council declared, his providence reaches from one end of the earth to the other, and orders all things sweetly. There is nothing that escapes his eyes, not in the cities of Europe, or in the most remote regions of the Amazon jungle. For Tupac Amaru was the leader of a pagan religion, a man who claimed to be the divine incarnation of the sun. As occupant of the Inca throne, he was attended to at all times by his subjects. They even carried him on a litter. Yet there is no doubt that by his campfire in the jungle, and at other times in the Andes Mountains, he perceived the emptiness of his life and the falsehood in which he was involved. Though at times suppressed by the distractions and pleasures that accompanied his life as emperor, deep down he knew that there was a greater purpose for his existence, a truth he had not yet found. He spent his days amidst some of the most impressive natural wonders in all of creation. Concerning the region encompassed by the Inca Empire, the explorer Hiram Bingham said, quote, "I know of no place in the world which can compare with it. Not only has it great snow peaks looming above the clouds more than 2 miles overhead, gigantic precipices of many-colored granite, rising for thousands of feet above the foaming, glistening, roaring rapids. One is drawn onward by ever-recurring surprises through a deep, winding gorge, turning and twisting past overhanging cliffs of incredible height." End quote. These natural wonders pointed Tupac Amaru unmistakably to the one who put them there, yet they also mysteriously indicated that there was something more to it all than a life of unfulfilling idleness in the wilderness. It took God's grace and the proper concatenation of events for Tupac Amaru to recognize the truth, which was made available to him in the most unexpected of ways and from the most unexpected of sources. For if his perceived enemies, the Spaniards, the people who wanted to kill him and end his reign, had not tracked him down in the jungle, he almost certainly would not have converted to Christ. He would have continued on the path to emptiness and eternal destruction, falsely claiming to be God, and promoting a religion he knew was a lie. But God sees all things. He knows who is of the truth, even when they are far removed from it. "I know mine, and mine know me," Jesus says in John 10:14. "Everyone who is of the truth will hear his voice," John 18:37. "Other sheep he has that are not of this fold, them also he must bring, and they will hear his voice, and there will be one fold and one shepherd. John 10:16. No matter where they are, those who are of Christ will be brought into his fold, and those who are left outside of it were thus left because they were not of the truth. St. Augustine, Against Julian, Book 5, Chapter 4, quote, "Of the number of the elect and predestined, even those who have led the very worst kind of life are led to repentance through the goodness of God. Never be it said that a man predestined to life would be permitted to end his life without the sacrament of the mediator, baptism. Because of these men our Lord says, quote, 'This is the will of him who sent me, the Father, that I should lose nothing of what he has given me.'" End quote.